Behind me is a picture I took last May in Muskoka of the lawn of an industrial plant near my home. There's a sea of dandelion blooms, something we're all familiar with, but there's something missing. As my dog and I inspected the lawn, it was evident there were no bees. Thousands of flowers, but not one honeybee. Okay, we're not near any agricultural land, but no bumblebees. None of the dozens of species of wild bees that, or any of the other Hymenoptera that would frequent such flowers normally. Many of you would not be surprised by this. You might think the weather was cool. It wasn't, or that it's early in the spring season. Things were well advanced. The problem is that you have no base of comparison to consider this unusual. I have. I'm a biologist and I am old. And I will tell you with confidence that the situation with pollinators is radically different today than it was even 3 decades ago. If you go back further, and I can remember back to the 1950s, the contrast is even more extreme. The large sources of pollen and nectar were crawling with insects back then. The wildflowers and shrubs literally hummed loudly with the buzz of bees, and there was a richness of species. Large bumblebees varied in coloration, and the smaller wild bees displayed a richness of patterns. As kids, we had a game in the spring. We each get a glass pickle jar with a lid. And the game was to catch bumblebees from the flowers on the Caragana hedge and catch them in the jar one at a time without releasing the previous bees that you had trapped. It was common to get 8, maybe 10 bees in the jar without mishap. Then, precipitously, one or more of the captives would escape. And on a fumbled attempt, and then in fear and with a little bit of screaming, the participant would drop the jar, which of course smashed on the ground and released all the captives, and then run away. Of course, the broken glass would have to be picked up later before Dad came home. By today's standards, such games would be perhaps considered irresponsible, and those were different times. But regardless, they could not be played. Kids today could not find a Caragana hedge alive with bumblebees, and for that matter, they couldn't get a pickle jar that wasn't plastic. This pattern of missing pollinators is repeated later in the season, these days, by the absence of butterflies. The meadows of midsummer used to be decorated by hundreds of butterflies of many colors and patterns. Any roving kid worth his respect could relate the difference between monarchs, viceroys, swallowtails, and sulfurs. I would like to think that kids have that experience these days, but I doubt it. The absence of pollinators is likely the result of accumulation of ecological stressors that are afflicting our natural heritage these days. Perhaps it's an issue too complex and overwhelming for regular people to address, but we should all do what we can to maintain the available flowers for these important ecosystem components to survive. Kudos, by the way, to the industrial plant in the photo. It's Fanotech Waste Management Systems. They make industrial bins. But kudos to them for not cutting the lawns until the dandelions are growing to seed. They do this every year, I've noticed. It's a small but important gesture.